The film opens with a woman named Evelyn, who is sleeping in bed. She is a nurse, and her current job is to take care of an elderly woman named Dina Regan. While she is in bed, Dina's son, Clem Regan, comes inside her room and mentions that Dina has fallen on the floor. Dina is an obese woman who suffers from dementia, which is why it is very difficult to take care of her. Clem and Evelyn now help Dina as they pick her up and put her back in her wheelchair, so that they can take her back to her room. Once there, Evelyn puts Dina back in her bed and tells her how she can never do this kind of thing again. Dina is taking some medicine that makes her blood thin, so if she gets a small cut, she will bleed a lot, which is why she cannot afford to get injured. After that, she looks at Clem through the window and we learn that he is living in a trailer right outside the house. In the morning, Evelyn brings Dina some breakfast and we see her nephew, Amos, who is coming back from a run. Despite having dementia, Dina still functions like a healthy human sometimes. As Dina and Evelyn are talking, Dina hears strange noises coming from their house intercom. She wants to tell Evelyn about it but is unable to find the words because of her dementia. Evelyn does not understand her, so she decides to play some music for Dina and leaves her to do other house chores. As she is walking around the house, she hears the strange noise from the intercom as well but chooses to ignore it. She goes to the kitchen and starts talking to her sister on the phone, who is the mother of Amos. During this, Amos comes home from his run and talks to her mother on the phone. She asks about his school, and it is revealed that Amos got in trouble with other kids in school and he has to stay here for a while. Then, it is revealed that Amos is staying in Clem's room, which is why Clem is staying outside in a trailer. As Amos goes into his room, he listens to Evelyn and his mother's conversation through the home phone, and he is clearly distressed because he might get expelled from school. Evelyn then goes to the mail post nearby and receives some mail, then comes back home with Susan. Susan is Dina's daughter, which means that Clem and Susan are siblings. While they are coming back home in the car, Evelyn mentions that Dina fell on the floor last night and how she only got bruised and nothing too serious happened. Susan is here to check on Dina since she heard about the incident. After hearing Evelyn, Susan mentions that Evelyn needs to take extra care of Dina because they once found her near the river. Dina sometimes forgets that she is not supposed to go out, which is dangerous. So, Evelyn ensures that she will do her best to keep Dina safe at all costs. When they get home, Susan checks Dina's bruises and tells her that she cannot afford to be this irresponsible. She is lucky that she did not get a cut when she fell and only got bruises. During this, Clem walks inside the room and does not pay attention to Dina at all as he starts playing with their pet parrot. However, Dina is worried and keeps asking him where he has been. In response, Clem talks in a way that makes it clear that he is devastated by his lifestyle and is agitated by her. She now tells Clem that there is a boy living in his room, meaning that she forgot who Amos is because of her dementia. Clem again reminds her that Amos is Evelyn's nephew, and he is just staying here for a while. However, Dina claims that her things have been going missing and she suspects that Amos is stealing them. Susan and Clem both deny this and decide to not take Dina seriously. At night, Evelyn is making dinner when Amos shows up and explains how he has been feeling dizzy because he has been running and training. Evelyn suggests that he rest and eat so that he doesn't get sick. Now, before everyone can sleep, Susan gives Evelyn some keys so she can access all the doors. While mentioning that Clem has a copy of these keys as well, Susan gives clear instructions that Evelyn needs to lock all doors, especially at night so that Dina cannot go out and hurt. At night, when Evelyn tries to sleep, she hears strange noises which she discovers are just Susan and Clem talking. However, she again hears some weird eerie noises from the home intercom as well. In the morning, Evelyn is sitting right by Dina and asks if she will be alright on her own for a little while, because she needs to go to the post office. After knowing Dina that will be alright, she heads to the post office where alongside her own personal mail, she gets a mail from someone named Mr. Sanzaru. She comes outside in confusion and runs into the mailman. She hands him back the mail from Mr. Sanzaru, declaring that this is not hers. However, he is also confused because he knows no one else who could possibly receive mail from someone named Sanzaru. As she returns back home, she hears that Dina has played some of her music and she also notices that their pet bird is out of its cage. Not knowing what to do, she starts trying to catch the bird so it does not get out of the house. After many failed attempts, Evelyn is shocked to witness the bird flying into a Because of this, the entire house's light goes away, and Dina starts to panic as well because her music gets cut off. After that, we see Evelyn who is holding the deceased parrot in her hand and is completely clueless as to what she should do with it. Just then, Clem and Amos come inside the house and Evelyn gets scared as she thinks that Clem would get mad at her. She instantly puts the parrot in a kitchen drawer and does not tell Clem anything about it. Evelyn now prepares some breakfast and takes it to Dina, who refuses to eat. During this, Clem walks inside, and Evelyn explains that Dina has suddenly stopped eating. Clem takes one of her sandwiches and sits down, and he notices that their bird is missing. Before Clem can point out the bird, Dina starts talking about her things going missing again. She claims that the bracelet that her husband gave her is missing and she thinks that Amos took it. Before Clem can calm her down, Dina demands that she wants to talk to that boy right away, so they have no other choice but to call Amos. Dina is then sitting on her chair as Amos walks in and asks what all of this is about. Dina starts inquiring and asks Amos to return the bracelet, a statement that leaves him startled. He obviously defends himself by making it clear that he did not steal anything from this home. Dina, however, refuses to believe this and explains that she is not mad he took it, but she wants it back because her husband gave her that item. Clem can also tell what's going on here and takes Amos' side. He tells Dina that Amos has done nothing with that bracelet. After this, we see Dina in the kitchen when Clem walks in there and apologizes for what happened. This shows that Clem is not just a stubborn man who hates his life but also a kind man who sincerely apologizes. Clem also asks about Amos and how he got in trouble at school because he thinks that Amos is a good kid. Just when they are talking, they start to hear Dina's music once again, which means that the power is back. Clem then walks away to check the wiring and make sure it does not go out again. After this, Evelyn gets busy with the chores when she goes near the intercom and starts to hear the same noises once again. But just as usual, she has other things on her mind, which is why she ignores the voices and walks away. Meanwhile, we see Amos, who is again running outside. However, he suddenly stops and starts puking, which indicates that he is not well. He comes home and talks to his mother on the phone, who tells her that he needs to stay there for a few more days. He tries to explain to her how stressful it is for him to live here, but he chooses not to say it. As night draws near, Evelyn is sitting right by Dina, who is sleeping. Evelyn is again solving puzzles when she writes the name Mr. Sanzaru and wonders who it is. After that, she goes to sleep in her room, where she looks at Clem's trailer and thinks about him for a brief moment before returning back to her bed and trying to sleep. Since she is exactly underneath Dina's room, she hears her talking and almost screaming at someone. Concerned, she runs up there to check on her and sees that she is yelling and pointing at the intercom. This means that she hears the voices from the intercom as well and does not know what to do about it. However, Evelyn thinks that she is just hearing things, so she tries to calm her down and puts her back to sleep. The next day, Evelyn is doing chores when she sees that Clem and Amos are together. Amos wants to get into boxing, and Clem is helping him, given they are together hitting a punching bag. After a while, Amos falls to the ground and Clem gets worried. Startled, Evelyn also comes running and takes him inside to check what happened to him. She sees that he has a bruise on his face, which he got from falling down. After taking care of the bruise, she gets worried for him and asks him what's going on with him. Not wanting to reveal much, he just expresses that he has been dizzy lately for some reason. He also adds that he feels like something is very wrong with this place and that he wants to leave. However, Evelyn ignores it and strongly advises that he should eat more and train a little less hard. At night, Evelyn is cleaning Dina with a wet towel when she starts talking about herself. She mentions that her father left when she was young, and her mother passed away last year, so she cannot leave the state, so she is stuck here doing small-time jobs like this one. Thinking that talking about her personal life will get Dina to talk as well, Evelyn asks about last night. She specifically inquires that she came in last night, and Dina was very upset because according to her, a man was trying to talk to her. Thinking that this is absurd, Dina starts laughing and claims that she remembers nothing like that ever happening. Later at night, Amos is having trouble sleeping while Evelyn is also lying awake in her bed. As she lies in rest, an eerie yet conspicuous red entity is present in the room, staring right at Evelyn. There is no explanation as to what this glowing red figure is, but presumably, it's trying to communicate through the telecom. In the morning, Evelyn is talking to her sister about Amos while he fixes a car with Clem outside. Just then, the lights go out again and Clem walks in, claiming that he checked the main circuit and it was working just fine. Now, Evelyn knows that the light is unstable because of the parrot incident, but she chooses to remain silent about it. As Clem tries to wash his greasy hands he got by fixing the car, Evelyn comes close and suggests that he should use some sugar, which would help clean his hands. Then, she pours the sugar on his hands and helps him clean. And as their hands touch, this interaction sparks something between them. However, both of them decide to not show it as Clem changes the topic by mentioning that he wants to take Amos to finish his boat. However, Evelyn disagrees and wants Amos to finish his schoolwork, so Clem walks away. After this, she goes to Amos' room, who comes back after training with the punching bag. When he enters his room, he sees that Evelyn is sitting on his bed with all the homework that he has not done. When Evelyn raises the obvious question and asks why he hasn't done his homework, he gets a little mad. As he throws his books away, he emphasizes that no one cares if he does all of this or not and that Evelyn should stop pretending too. As he walks out of the room, Evelyn almost breaks down in tears. Later on, we see that Amos and Clem are on his boat and they are trying to catch some fish for dinner. At home, having nothing else to do, Evelyn sees that Dina is sleeping, so she goes and sleeps right next to her. Later that night, she hears some voices from downstairs, so she wakes up and goes to inspect. She sees Clem cooking dinner and it shocks her a little that Clem is being kind. Then, she goes toward the dinner table as Clem claims to be cooking fish for dinner. We now see that Clem, Amos, and Evelyn are having a nice dinner. During this, Clem notices that Amos is not eating his food and Evelyn explains that he does not like eating fish. Clem then starts to crack jokes which make everyone laugh, but their little joy is instantly snatched away as they hear a thud upstairs, meaning that Dina tried to get out of bed and fell again. All three of them run upstairs to help her, but it is far worse than they were expecting it to be. They see that there is blood everywhere on the floor, meaning that she hit something sharp and she is now bleeding profusely. Evelyn takes a look at the wound and more blood pours out because of the blood thinner medicine she is taking. Clem puts his hand on the wound to try and stop the bleeding and Evelyn orders Amos to go and get the medkit. However, Amos is unable to find it, so Evelyn puts her hand on the wound and sends Clem to get the medkit. While Evelyn and Dina are alone, Dina almost feels no pain and starts to talk in strange ways again. The scene now changes as we see bloodied towels in the bathtub and Evelyn cleaning blood off her hand. This means that she managed to stop the bleeding and save Dina. After all of this, we see Amos in his room while Evelyn and Clem sit down all alone for a drink. He starts talking about the end of life and elaborates how he is not afraid of anything anymore, so demise wouldn't be that bad for him. This makes it clear how tired he is of his life. Evelyn now brings up his father and asks how he passed away because she knows nothing about him. She also adds that she knows it's a sensitive topic, since no one around likes to talk about him, and she also says that it's okay if Clem does not want to talk about it. After a few more back and forth between them, the scene changes. Evelyn goes and checks on Amos, who is sleeping, while Clem heads back to his trailer to sleep. Shockingly, we see Evelyn knocking on Clem's trailer and she asks him if she can come inside. This clearly means that she wants to find intimacy in a place where she least expected it, and Clem also realizes this as they build a mutual understanding of each other. She walks inside and sits down, and then talks in a manner that makes clear to Clem that her life is almost as miserable as his. He finally starts talking about his father and says that he had a fight with some people, but Clem was not old enough at the time. There were too many and his father was outnumbered, so they beat his father up very badly. This case went to the police, and when they interrogated Clem, he stayed quiet and told the cops nothing because he feared he would meet the same fate his father did if he snitched. He still feels guilty for what he did to his father, even though he claims that he passed away because of some other accident later on. This is the main reason Clem never wants to talk about his father with anyone. Evelyn now makes it very clear that she wants to leave the States, and she also worries about who would look after Dina if they both left together. As a glimmer of hope shines bright on Clem's miserable life, he explains that his sister can look after Dina and they can actually leave. On top of that, he further adds that he can earn a good amount of money and Evelyn can also get a job wherever they move, so this could actually work. Evelyn then gets on the bed as Clem comes too close to her, and they ultimately lay down and start to kiss each other. The next day, she wakes up early in the morning right next to Clem as she gets out of bed and goes inside the house to do her daily chores. She looks at some places where she can go with Clem, but she then picks up some keys and goes out to the mailbox to get some mail. While she is at the main post, she tries to open the mailbox, but is unable to for some reason. As she tries to open all the other emails, we see that Amos is coming back from a run and notices that the house door is open. He comes inside and casually starts to look around for something to eat, unaware that something terrible or divine is lurking in the house. Meanwhile, Evelyn tries to open all the mailboxes and fails, until she opens one and finds a bunch of letters all related to Mr. Sanzaru. Confused, she keeps going through the emails wondering who Mr. Sanzaru is, and how or why he is connected to any of this. Meanwhile, in the house, Amos opens the drawer and sees the deceased parrot that is infested with maggots. Disgusted by the very sight of this, Amos loses consciousness and falls to the ground as the parrot is standing right in front of him. During all of this, a mystical portal opens as the red entity's hand comes out. The parrot's head is shining bright as it talks to Amos in some other language, and the entity walks right towards him. During this, Evelyn comes and sees that the front door is locked even though she left it open, meaning that Amos came home and locked it. All the other doors are also locked, so when she gets no response, she goes around and tries to have a look from the window. Inside, the entity comes even closer and touches Amos. Evelyn sees that Amos is unconscious, so she instantly runs to Clem, who opens the door with his keys, and they both run inside to check on Amos. They pick him up and put him on the couch where Evelyn determines that he is in a very bad state and needs a doctor. Then, Clem says that he can go to the post office and call a doctor who will be there in 10 minutes, because going to the hospital will take much more time. Before he can leave, he notices Dina's music playing, and upon checking, he finds out that she is missing. They discover that Dina is out of the house and has gone towards the lake. Clem is now at the post office where he is making the call, but notices that someone has opened the mailbox that belonged to Mr. Sanzaru. In the house, Evelyn discovers a room where she finds many strange things, amongst which she finds a book called Mr. Sanzaru's Playground. She is ever more curious about it while the entity is walking upstairs, and Amos sees the glowing parrot again. While coming back home, Clem sees Dina lying near a lake and he somehow manages to bring her home. Now, Evelyn and Clem decide to deal with this as Dina is in critical condition. After that, Evelyn checks if Clem is hurt and asks him about the room she found with many disturbing things. Clem opens up and says that the room belonged to his father, confirming that Sanzaru is his father. As he talks more about him, Evelyn gets a little freaked out and tries to casually walk out of there. Then, Clem brings up that he and Evelyn can go somewhere like they planned, but she claims that she and Amos have to leave. Clem even tries to kiss her, but she resists, so he makes it clear that she has to stay here. Before she can do anything else, Clem takes the keys Susan gave Evelyn and locks her inside with Amos. After this, Clem brings out all the things from the room and burns them. Evelyn hopelessly sits by Amos, knowing that no doctor is coming. She apologizes to Amos for what she has done to him and starts to break down in tears, because she thinks that he will most likely pass away. The fire Clem has lit runs out at late night when Evelyn is asleep. She wakes up from a noise and is more than relieved to see that Amos woke up and is feeling fine now. She tells him to run to the post office and she will meet him there. As he goes away, she hears her mother speaking, but upon inspecting further, she finds the eerie portal. The portal is seemingly a gateway to the afterlife, and Sanzoru somehow escaped from there, which is why Evelyn can hear her deceased mother's voice from it. Evelyn now goes upstairs only to find Clem sleeping next to Dina. She sees that he is bleeding and finds out that he took some blood thinner medicine. She asks him a few questions, but at this point, he has gone completely nonverbal. She then notices an envelope with her name on it, so she picks it up and finds money in it which Clem kept for her so that they can leave together. Evelyn takes the money and leaves as the entity sits right by Clem and Dina. Though Clem is unable to see it, the mere presence of it starts to hurt him and he eventually starts to bleed. Evelyn is then seen running towards the post office where she finds Amos, and they both leave the place once and for all. We then see a bright red light appearing on the house, and here this movie ends.